It's June 2025 and Iran is under attack. Israeli forces are launching drones and airstrikes against over 100 targets in what their foreign intelligence agency Mossad have dubbed Operation Rising Lion. A week later, these attacks are backed up by US forces who use airstrikes and so-called bunker-busting bombs to target Iranian nuclear facilities in a mission they call Midnight Hammer. To justify the attacks, the Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, say that Iran is, quote, closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon, an existential threat to the state of Israel and a significant threat to the wider world. Operation Rising Lion is a preemptive strike to hamstring the Iranian regime's nuclear ambitions. Even though the airstrikes steal all the headlines, there's a subplot to Operation Rising Lion: the assassination of 5 men, 3 senior military commanders and 2 scientists, all with an intimate knowledge of Iran's nuclear program. Assassinating scientists to curb a nation's nuclear ambitions might seem like an extreme tactic, but for Israel, it's business as usual. Today on the show, a Hollywood-style hit so far-fetched it sounds like science fiction. Hello, my friend. I'm Aslan Pahari, and this is Assassins, the show where we tell the stories of history's most shocking assassinations. And today, one of the most brazen, technologically sophisticated killings in history, and the geopolitical blood feud at the heart of it all. 5 years ago, the man dubbed Iran's Oppenheimer was the latest victim in a string of assassinations designed to prevent the Iranian regime from developing its nuclear capability. But how did no one see who killed one of Iran's most closely guarded assets? November 2020. It's a cool autumn day. A professor, renowned in his field, is driving with his wife to their country home for a well-earned break. His name is Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. He's a serious man, a scientist at a prestigious university who's known to be a little severe. His sons say he really smiles, but in this part of the country, he can unwind and unplug, alongside many of the nation's political and intellectual elites. Here, he enjoys the little things, like reading philosophy or long drives with his family. Their black sedan makes its way through the barren, mountainous landscape. His security detail travels in a car ahead of his, with 2 others making up the rear. Fakhrizadeh and his wife are 3 hours into their journey when they slow down to pass a nondescript blue pickup truck abandoned by the side of the narrow road. And without warning, what had been a peaceful road trip suddenly becomes a waking nightmare. Gunshots pepper the windshield. The car swerves and screeches to a stop. The professor stumbles out, perhaps already hit, and crouches behind his open door. This time, the assassins make sure they get their mark. 3 shots rip through Fakhrizadeh's spine. He collapses, dying in the middle of the road. His security detail is caught completely off guard. They never even see the shooter. Fakhrizadeh's wife staggers to him, cradling his head as he fades. He tells her to leave. For 14 years, he's known that this moment was coming. His breathing stops. His wife barely has enough time to process what's just happened, when suddenly, the broken-down blue truck by the side of the road explodes. As Fakhrizadeh lies dying in his wife's arms alongside his bullet-ridden car, a member of his security detail runs over, rifle in hand, scoping for the assassins. But there aren't any. A vicious attack has just played out. A random truck has gone up in flames. But there's no one around. Apart from the carnage of the attack, this barren stretch of road is completely empty. What on earth has just happened? The assassination of Professor Mohsen Fakhrizadeh in November 2020 is an embarrassment in neon lights for Iran. It comes hot on the heels of another high-profile killing, the assassination by US drone strike of Iran's top military leader just 10 months earlier. For days after Fakhrizadeh's assassination, confusion reigns. Iranian media run completely fabricated stories about what happened. In some reporting, eyewitnesses claim to have seen half a dozen gunmen jump out of a car and open fire on Fakhrizadeh's convoy. Others report an intense gun battle involving twice as many assassins with gunmen on motorbikes, an intense firefight with Iranian security forces, and several victims in a bloodbath. But as we'll find out, truth is stranger than fiction when it comes to this assassination. So who was the professor at the center of this whirlwind? To the Iranian regime, Professor Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was more than just your run-of-the-mill academic. He was one of the nation's top scientists. Fakhrizadeh had a COVID-19 vaccine named after him, Fakhrizadeh, thanks to his central role in Iran's fight against the virus. His true talent, however, was nuclear science. He was dubbed Tehran's atomic weapons guru by the Wall Street Journal. The New York Times described him as the closest thing to an Iranian Oppenheimer. But he was more than just a prominent scientist. Fakhrizadeh was also a high-ranking member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the country's elite military wing, a powerful and secretive organization. With that group, he worked on projects to develop Iranian military tech from missiles to drones. It's been said that he was the kind of guy who knew how to get obscure equipment and prohibited technology into Iran, reportedly having an underground network that stretched from Latin America to North Korea and Eastern Europe. If Iran needed something, Fakhrizadeh had a way to get it. But beyond this kind of LinkedIn summary of his career, there's not much publicly known about the man himself. There aren't even many photos of him. We do know he liked to read Persian poetry, visit the seaside, and was loyal to the regime. He wore a ring to symbolize his devotion to the Islamic revolutionary forces that took over the country in the late 70s. Perhaps understandably, he maintained a distance from those closest to him. Not even his 3 sons fully understood what he did for work. But Israeli intelligence did. And so did the UN. A UN assessment concluded that he was likely involved in developing a nuclear bomb. And the US State Department sanctioned him as a nuclear proliferation risk. The Israeli government considers any Iranian nuclear program to be an existential threat. It's been warning of the danger to its people for decades. Israeli intelligence had long been convinced that Fakhrizadeh was more than just another academic, that he was, in fact, the brains behind Iran's nuclear weapons ambitions. 2 years before Fakhrizadeh's assassination, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a press conference on Iran's nuclear program, saying this.
Remember that name, Fakhrizadeh.
In fact, there had apparently been plans to assassinate him in 2009, but they were abandoned at the last moment when Iran seemed to get wind of the plot. So when Fakhrizadeh is gunned down just outside Iran's capital, Tehran, there's an obvious suspect. Israel. But there's more than just Iranian intuition at play here. Anonymous sources from Iran, but also within the US and Israel, confirm in international media that this hit came from Mossad, Israel's foreign intelligence agency. The Israeli government, as a matter of policy, refuses to confirm or deny involvement in any foreign killings. Despite this silence, it's clear to most international observers that it was Mossad who eliminated Fakhrizadeh. But aside from motive, there's another reason Israel is the prime suspect in this assassination, and that is means and opportunity. Fakhrizadeh was a difficult man to take out. He was protected at the highest levels. There are only a few options in the world for who could outmaneuver the Iranian Revolutionary Guard on their own turf. And the way they pulled it off has all the hallmarks of a Mossad assassination. Mossad is known for its technologically advanced weapons and high-drama, Hollywood-style hits. And in this sense, the Fakhrizadeh assassination is an absolute blockbuster. So how did they do it? To find out, let's head back to the scene of the crime. As Fakhrizadeh lies dying in his wife's arms alongside his bullet-ridden car, a member of his security detail runs over, rifle in hand, desperately scanning the landscape for any signs of the assassins. But there aren't any. A vicious attack has just played out, but there's no one around. Apart from the dying Fakhrizadeh, his wife, and the stunned members of his security detail, there's not a single person on that isolated stretch of road. So, who fired the machine gun that killed the professor? Well, here's the thing. Fakhrizadeh's security detail can't find any assassins at the site because there aren't any. No gunmen hiding behind the broken-down truck, no one present on this isolated stretch of road at all. In fact, the assassins aren't even in the country when the shots are fired. This is an assassination carried out at distance, a remote assassination, working remotely in 2020. Now that brings back memories. Here's what we now know. From back in Israel, thousands of kilometers away, the assassin, a trained sniper, sits in a command center in front of a screen and controls the weapon remotely. And what a weapon it is! It's unlike anything the Iranians have seen before. Heck, it's unlike anything anyone's seen before. A truck-mounted, AI-powered, remote-controlled machine gun pinging off a satellite. Let me say that again so you understand how truly wild this is. A truck-mounted, AI-powered, remote-controlled machine gun pinging off a satellite. Kind of makes me nostalgic for the days of a simple dagger in the back. Before the assassin squeezes the trigger, they need to make sure they get their guy. Now, Mossad have done their homework. They've been carefully following Fakhrizadeh's movements and have a pretty good sense of where to set up their weapon. However, to make the shot, they need to confirm which car of the convoy the professor is in. But how can they positively identify him from a command center thousands of kilometers away? Well, they set up two roadside decoys. The first is a car, propped up on a jack as if someone's changing a tire. It's positioned at a section of the road where Fakhrizadeh's convoy has to slow down to pull a U-turn. One of the many cameras mounted in the decoy car captures footage of the convoy. And there he is. The professor is sitting behind the wheel of the second car. His wife is in the passenger seat beside him. The assassins in the command center know they've got their man. It's all systems go for the assassination. Further down the road, Fakhrizadeh's convoy has to slow down again, this time for a speed bump. Nearby is the second roadside decoy, that broken down blue truck I mentioned earlier. Like the jacked up car, this had been placed there by Iranian agents working for Mossad. And the weapon, this AI-powered remote control machine gun, is hidden inside that blue truck. Weighing over 1,000 kilograms, it was too large to smuggle into Iran in one piece. So instead, it was broken up into parts, which were then snuck across the border and reassembled in Iran, before being hidden in a truck under tarps and construction material. Like the jacked-up car, the blue truck has cameras facing in all directions, relaying a video feed to the assassin in the command center. With a satellite relaying commands, the gun can fire 600 shots a minute. But there's another problem for technology to solve, an obstacle we've all encountered while using a computer: lag. Usually a problem for 11-year-olds playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, or me playing League of Legends. As the signals ping back and forth off the satellite, there's a lag of 1.6 seconds between what happens on the ground and what the sniper sees on their monitor, which is where AI comes in. Seriously, they're putting AI in everything these days. Artificial intelligence compensates for this lag, calculating where its target will be 1.6 seconds after it appears on the monitor. It also compensates for any recoil. A huge rig like this will recoil after each shot, changing its position, affecting the accuracy of the shots. As soon as the sniper locks in, they squeeze the trigger and take the shot. And everything goes according to plan. The killing of Professor Mohsen Fakhrizadeh is so precise that, despite 15 shots being fired, nobody else is harmed. Not his wife sitting next to him in the passenger seat, not his security detail following closely behind, only Fakhrizadeh. It's an illegal killing, executed in a most ethical way. As inevitable as the assassination seemed, Fakhrizadeh made it easy. He'd been close to the top of Mossad's hit list for a long time, more than a decade spent looking over his shoulder. On the day he was assassinated, he'd ignored the warnings of his security detail to not go on the drive. The car he drove didn't have armor or bulletproof windows. He'd also insisted on driving the car himself, rejecting an offer to be driven or at the very least have some of his security team in the car with him. Had he been in the back seat, he might have been protected by the car's interior. A clean shot would have been that much harder to make. But being in the driver's seat as he was could have saved his wife's life. It gave the assassin an unobstructed view of their intended target. Dressed in a black chadar days later, his wife said this on Iranian state TV. He wanted to be martyred, and his wish came true. When it comes to preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons, Mossad employs a number of tactics: sabotage, cyber attacks, and assassinations. But there's a diplomatic angle as well. Over the past decade, the permanent members of the UN Security Council, like the US and Russia, plus others like Germany and the EU, have tried to make a deal with Iran on its nuclear program. The deal is, convince us you're not making a nuclear bomb and we'll reduce the sanctions we have on you. But it's been an on and off kind of relationship. Iran repeatedly breaches, or is seen to breach, the conditions of the deal, and negotiations go back to square one. And Mossad can't risk letting their number one enemy develop a nuke. And so, they've tended to lean on what they think works best: assassination. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was just one in a string of targeted killings that stretch back to 2007. Clearly, to be a nuclear scientist in Iran is to be marked for death. Between 2007 and 2020, 6 Iranian nuclear scientists are assassinated in hits that bear all the trademarks of Mossad. The first was poisoned. The second was killed by a bomb attached to a motorbike and remotely detonated. An Iranian agent allegedly working with Mossad was caught in the aftermath of this assassination. He was executed after confessing to his involvement. The next 4 assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists all happened in person. How old school! Motorbike riding assassins would ride next to the scientist's car and either shoot them through the window or, quite spectacularly, attach a magnetic bomb to the car and speed off before it was detonated. This is what I was talking about when I said that Mossad assassins have a Hollywood-style flair. Then, in 2020, Fakhrizadeh is taken down by the AI-powered remote control machine gun. While the Iranian government invariably blames Israel for each and every one of these assassinations, they sometimes also blame the CIA and the UK's MI6 for good measure. The US and UK completely deny involvement every time, while Israel remains stoically silent, sticking to its no-comment policy on accusations about foreign ops. So where does this leave us? Well, the attacks and the assassinations have exposed the Iranian regime as weak to its own people. The Ayatollahs were already unpopular. Huge protests erupted in Iran this year over food prices and shortages of water and energy. Iranian women have been defying the draconian hijab laws, taking on the morality police in the streets. And now, the regime has been shown exactly how defenseless it is, making it more determined than ever not to give up its nuclear program. But it also wants out of the sanctions choking its economy. Iran is in a bad position, and Israel knows it. But then again, so is Israel, facing enormous international pressure over its operations in Gaza. Will Western powers hammer out a new deal with Iran? Will the Ayatollahs get sanctions relief to smother the seeds of rebellion? Or are there yet more assassins waiting in the wings? Thank you for watching, my friend. If there's an assassination you'd like us to cover on the show, drop it in the comments.